the people. And notice in verse 14, it is deception. It's interesting that when Moses came to the Pharaoh to demand the release of the children of Israel from Egypt, that he began to show signs to them, miraculous signs. Who is God? The Pharaoh said that I should obey him. And so Moses began to demonstrate to him who was God. But the interesting thing is that the Pharaoh had magicians who were able to come in and to duplicate many of the things that Moses was doing. They were duplicating some of the things of Moses, and thus Satan can go so far in imitation, but he cannot go as far as did Moses in the creation of life and all. So the false prophet has power to give life to this image. Now they make the image of the beast, which had the wound by the sword and did live. It is interesting, again, going back in history to Antiochus Epiphanes, who we looked at in the 11th chapter of Daniel. Antiochus Epiphanes put a statue of Jupiter in the Holy of Holies of the temple in Jerusalem, profaned the temple, even as the Antichrist will put an image of himself in the Holy of Holies, stop the daily prayers and sacrifices, which is the abomination which the scripture says will cause the desolation, or will bring on the great tribulation and the judgment of God upon the earth. And so Antiochus Epiphanes, as a forerunner, you might say, to the Antichrist, doing many of the things that the Antichrist will do, he then offered a sacrifice on the altar of a pig, just to desecrate the altar in the temple. And he was a very blasphemous man, as will be the Antichrist, and he became a real type of the Antichrist in the Old Testament. Now, they make an image of the beast. This image will be placed in the Holy of Holies of the rebuilt temple, which will trigger the great tribulation, the judgment of God, the wrath of God. They have power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now, a word to you who sort of say to all of these things, oh, I don't believe it, that's really not going to happen. I really don't believe the Bible. I think that it's just stories that men made up, and, it's just a lot of fiction. A word to you. When this does happen, and unfortunately you'll be here if you survive this long, but when it does happen, they have power to put to death those that refuse to worship the image of the beast. Power to put them to death. Let me just highly recommend, don't worship the image of the beast. Let them put you to death. You'll be much better off. Back in the opening of the fifth seal, John sees this great number of people who are saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, till you avenge our blood upon those who are upon the earth?" People who will be martyred during this period of time for the testimony that they hold to, their refusal to worship the beast, their refusal to worship the image of the beast, and are put to death. They will be there in heaven, first of all, under the altar, waiting for their full number to be complete. They're given white robes, told that they should wait a little season until the full number was completed, and then they would be brought in. In the 7th chapter of the book of Revelation, they are brought in. Their number now complete. And John sees this great number of people in heaven. And the elder said to John, "Who are these? Where did they come from?" And John basically said, "I don't know. Who are they?" And the answer was, "These are they that came out of the great tribulation, who have washed their robes white in the blood of the Lamb, and who were slain for their testimony." So they will be able to come in. Now, it would seem that after the church is raptured and your eyes are open and you realize what a horrible mistake you made, that there will still be opportunity to be saved. Now, I say that with the knowledge that there are those like Lindsay who believe that if you reject Jesus now, there will be no chance for you after the rapture of the church. I don't necessarily go along with Hal on this, but I would have to confess I can't say with a surety that you will be saved. Hal uses the scripture that when the Antichrist comes, he will deceive those who had not the love of the truth. God will give them a strong delusion where they'll believe a lie rather than the truth because they didn't have the love for the truth. And so he says that those that have been exposed to the gospel and did not have a love for the truth, that there will be no chance for them. However, I don't agree with Hal on that. I do believe that God is very gracious, God is very merciful, and that God is not willing that any should perish. And I believe that if a person is foolish enough to not see the truth of Christ now, that when the church is raptured, you've heard enough, you know enough of what's going on, that you'll know that the Bible is true, that these things that have been predicted are coming to pass before your very eyes. And when the Antichrist rises and the powers, this blasphemous man begins to take control, that you will know not to worship him, not to go along with his program, even if it cost you your life. Those that were slain for their testimony under the altar ultimately get to come in. But hard way to go. And I often say to people, look, if you want to go the hard way, you can, but sort of stupid. You know, what an easy way to go now, just believing on the Lord, following him, and, you know, you're in good shape. But to just put it off, to doubt it, to challenge it, it will happen. And if you want to be saved at that time, you can, I believe, but it'll just be a hard way to go. So he causes as many who will not worship the image of the beast to be killed, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond,